Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another training session with Dave Collins from Single Point IT. This afternoon, we're going to be focusing on using Google Forms. So hopefully you've experimented a little bit with Google Drive in the past, and today we're going to focus on how we can use Google Forms as a powerful tool, mostly for formative assessment, but to be honest, just to be able to use it to be able to collect data from the students no matter what format that data happens to be in. So today we've started right on 3:30. I just thought I'd mention one quick answer to a question that I've received in the last week. Can you use this training as Boston accredited hours towards New South Wales accreditation? The answer is no, not at this point in time. There is something that we definitely would like to work towards. You could certainly use it as a teacher identified time, so that when you come down to filling in the hours that were not BOSTIS accredited, but you need the 50 hours of not BOSTIS accredited, or you can have a little bit less than that if you do more BOSTIS time. But at this stage, I would need to have a system which could confirm who watched it, and then I need to have something which would tell me what you've actually done to demonstrate the knowledge. It's something that I'm certainly looking to at the moment. I have had a go at it in the past getting accredited and didn't pass it first go. But yeah, certainly here at Innerborough, it's something that we're also investigating at this point in time as well. So yeah, certainly feel free to recognise this time that we're spending this afternoon in your teacher identified hours, and maybe in the future we might be able to come up with a system or some type of strategy which would work. Hopefully that will work really soon. So all right, that's enough of my face for the afternoon. Let's jump straight into Google Drive. So you should be now seeing my screen. And I'm going to now demonstrate what we can do with a Google form. Now, I know a few people will have used forms before. They may have even learnt some training with me in the past. But I'm really going to try and focus today about what are forms used for, and the building blocks that come with forms. So once again, if you haven't seen it before, we'll be new. And forms are not on the front page. Not sure why. I really think it should be. Google Forms are there. And when it sets up like this. Now, today I am using my account that is used, my personal account, so not my school account. And so therefore, when it comes to doing this, there are a few options that are missing that if I was using a Google Apps for Education account. But the general principles still work the same way. So the first thing we get is this set up for us for a form. It is chosen that the first question should be a multiple choice, but you don't have to stick with that. It has a title for the form, so I think in good practice, let's go Single Point IT. Hope I'm spelling it right there, Louis. Demo form. And basically, a form is a way of getting students to go to a web page and give you some data. Doesn't matter what type of data there is, there are a whole lot of different options. So let's go there, Single Point IT demo form, and note that Google's been clever enough now up here to rename it. You may have also noticed up here that I had a setup spreadsheet little thing that was spinning just for a second then, where it says view responses. And basically, anything that people enter into this spreadsheet, into this form, let me get this right, anything that people enter into this form can then be viewed in the responses spreadsheet that's been created. So for now, I'm just going to open that up. And you can see so far, all it says is untitled question and timestamp. Okay, let's talk about a couple of questions that are up here. If I'm in a Google Apps for Education account, I can require the students to have, or teachers, to have a login button or ensure that they are logged into their Google account. And I also can limit it to just people from your school's domain. So in my case, Innerborough School's domain. There is the capacity to have a progress bar at the bottom of the form if you work over multiple pages. Doesn't make much sense if you just create a single page form, but if you work over multiple pages. Allow one response per person requires login. So if we click that, that means that the people who are using it will have to have some form of Google account. In my case, because I'm using my personal one here, it doesn't actually have to be limited to my school, but they would need a Gmail account or potentially a Google Apps for Education. Shuffle question order, that's a good one. If the questions are a whole bunch of multiple choice questions and it doesn't matter what order the people enter the data, then that can be a handy way of sort of mixing it up around the classroom so everyone has slightly different stuff. We have a title here, And under here is an explanation of what it is. So I'm just going to go, this form is used in a sample training session to teach how to use forms. Okay, so that's basically it. So let's have a look at what it would look like. Let's go question 1. The weather today is options: sunny, cloudy, rainy, or cyclonic. Or cyclonic, right? So that's what it looks like. Once I've created that, a couple of things here. Firstly, I can go, yes, people must answer this question. If I press done, the must answer part is what the little red asterisk is there for. So I have these 4 questions, and that's what my page looks like there. Now that I've done that, if I come back over here to this, the question has been renamed inside the spreadsheet. So here is the form design on this tab. This is the spreadsheet that stores the data. And the nice thing is that anything we can do that's tricky with a spreadsheet, we can do with the data that people enter into these forms. Okay, so this is design mode. This is where it gets stored. Where do the people actually get to enter it is probably the important question here. So we have edit questions, changing themes, which we'll get to in a second. We have view responses, which shows us this spreadsheet here. And then we have the final button on this line, which is view live form. So I now have 3 tabs open. Now this one here is what it would look like for the user. And there is a really long address up here, which I think you should be able to see. Yes, you can see that. And that would be what you would tell your users to go to. Now, it's a little bit tricky because it is quite long, and it's not an easy thing for them to remember. Obviously, I don't think anyone in the world could necessarily remember that. So we'll come back to here, and there is an option up here on this right-hand corner called Send Form. If you've been using Google Documents for much before this, you'll realize that that's normally the share button. But in this case, it's the Send Form button. And what happens here is I can enter the names of the people that I want to send this form to, and they will receive the form, sometimes even as an email or just as a link. You could share it by Facebook, by Twitter, Google+, but you also could have a custom message that you put in your email. One of the things that I like, which is a relatively new enhancement for Google Forms, is that if we tick this shorten here, I can get a shortened address, which while it's still not easy for people to remember, it is a lot easier, and you could potentially copy it, that one there, and use that to be able to share it. So if you did want to just put the address on a whiteboard in your room, that's one way that you could do it. So let's see what happens here. If I go to this form page itself and I press, it's now currently cloudy. Outside it is cloudy. We've had a bit of rain today, but the weather today is currently cloudy, and press submit. Excuse me. It says your response has been recorded, and it even has a link here if I wanted to create a new form. So anybody in the world who knows about that address gets it there. And now what has happened is over here, it tells me that at this point in time, 24th of the 8th, 2015, at exactly this time, somebody responded that the weather today is cloudy. Handy. Obviously, if I go back, I could actually have another go, and I can now press sunny. And clicking over here, I'm now starting to build this. So let's pretend that I'm actually a classroom teacher who wants to do some quick questions at the start of the lesson. The first question that we used was basically, the first question that we used was the multiple choice. So let's have a look at some of the other ones. Here's a traditional one. Please tell me your name. So name, and notice how when I grabbed it here, I was able to move the objects in their order. So we'll leave that there. And once we finish, done. Now, I don't think we really want to leave it optional that somebody can enter their name. So we'll tick required. And so now it gets the little red asterisk next to it as well. All right. So it could be that you have their name, the weather today is sunny. I could also have a text which could be simply answer to question 1. And I could write the question on a whiteboard or electronic whiteboard. And so I've just got a box where it enters it. So now note, obviously over here, I've got these particular headings that are starting to appear. And so that's a really handy way of being able to collect the data quickly. You don't need them to hand in their books to answer these questions. There we go there. Let's just finish, keep going down here. Paragraph text, obviously good when you want to maybe have some type of essay question, such as, why is it sunny today? Okay, or why do you like the rain? There could be a number of questions going here, but obviously that's a bigger section here. And once again, if I come back to my form and refresh it, notice how there is different sizes for each section. I've left question 1 at the moment being optional, and I've left this one here. The user can drag and make the box bigger if it's a paragraph. Also a handy thing there. So we've got that there. Whenever we click into the question itself, we have the capacity to edit it. There are some advanced settings, which I'm not going to necessarily get into today, but if you did want to make sure that people entered a number or some different things, that can be a handy thing. It is also possible for you to duplicate questions. Sometimes I like these multiple choice questions. I can just go, all right, there's the edit button, there's the duplicate button, and then there's obviously the trash or delete button. So I'm just going to press duplicate here, and I get the second question again. So if I had the same 4 responses that I wanted every time, that could be a handy way for me to create it. The weather today is, the weather yesterday was. So I've got 2 similar questions built up very quickly there as we look to construct it. Okay, they are the basic ones. The ones that we started with right from the top here, text, paragraph text, multiple choice. All right, tick boxes, one that is quite often misinterpreted. Tick boxes, a lot of people look at them and go, oh, they're just the same as multiple choice. What has been the weather like at your school today? Now, I can still go with sunny, cloudy, raining, cyclonic. When I go for that option, let's have a look at it when we actually go to the form. Let's refresh the page. You'll see that I've got this option down here now. This was multiple choice, and I can only select one at a time. This here is optional. And so I could say at my school today, it has been all of the above and submit it. Now I've got some here that I haven't answered, so I just have to make sure I put that in there. Press submit. And so when I come back here and look at my responses, it's done a comma separated list, sunny, cloudy, rainy, and cyclonic. And that can be a very handy thing for us. All right, so back in design mode for the form. We've done names, we've duplicated questions, we've set up multiple choice, short responses or just text boxes, paragraph responses for longer ones. We've got these options here. All right, so let's keep working through this list. There is an option for a scale. So, did you like the weather? Scale, the option. Hated it, loved it. So when that appears to the person filling it in, they have that scale of 1 through to 5. And obviously you had some controls. If you wanted to, you could start at a different number, go up to a different number. So there's some options for you there in those sorts of responses. A grid, a similar thing. I'll just have a look at here how we go setting up. Do you like the weather last week? So row 1, row label. Row 1, I'm going to go Monday, Tuesday, go Wednesday. And down here, we're going to go yes and no. Yeah. So it sets up a similar question like that before, but now I have, actually I was trying to edit, I was trying to actually enter it then, that's what it's there, looks like there. So if I go back onto this page, you'll see that I have it set up like that. Now, if you've got students filling in a lot of surveys and it's the same scale all the time, that can actually be a handy way to actually approach a question such as that. All right, back here in design mode, what other questions have we got here? We can have questions which have to fit the date or a time. So that's basically the ones there, and I think they're reasonably obvious. One that we did skip before was choose from a list. It's exactly the same as multiple choice, except in that case, when we do it, so sunny, cloudy, raining, cyclonic. When we look at it here, different way, it gives me a drop-down menu. And so when I come over here and have a look at it, you can see that it gives me a list. That can be really handy if you have more than 4 or 5 choices. 4 or 5 choices makes sense to show them all, but sometimes if you've got 15 choices, it might be better just for simplicity to just have it as one big drop-down list. It can be a very handy way. Sometimes I've seen forms done at schools where they have all the students who might have to fill in it, have it so they can select their name from that particular format. All right. So once again, back in here, each time we add a new question, it's being added to the top, and we can see that we have columns that are available to us there. All right, so hopefully that's a lot of the simple stuff with it. Setups here. One thing that I have found recently to be very handy is a page break. So if I go in here and go page break and go page 2, I don't even need to put the text in here. What I can do is I can drag that up so that, remember the question up here which says show your progress? So I'm going to tick that one now, and I've got a page 2. And if I come back to the form and refresh it, I only see the first part of the form. It says I'm at 50%, I'm halfway through. I have to answer a few of these questions to be able to get to the next page. And then as I press continue, I can go to the second page. And if there's a lot of scrolling involved, I think especially for students, this can be a really handy way to do it. And you get the option to go backwards and forwards as you move through to make sure that everything is done correctly. So what we basically did then was we grabbed a page break and we dragged it to the section we wanted it to be, which defined the end of the first page. And notice after each of these, there is an option to go to a different page. It actually comes initially from these multiple choice questions, where if you have a multiple choice question like this, you can set it up so that if they select cloudy, they can jump straight to page 2. And you have a lot of different pages to get that to work. I'm not going to bother with that for now today, or just got rid of an option. Don't think that will matter. But if they choose a certain multiple choice question, it takes them to a particular page, and that can be a very handy way of differentiating a test and differentiating a survey, because people don't answer questions that aren't relevant to them, and that makes a big difference in the way that it works. All right, so far we have a pretty stock standard boring form. And you know what? Most of the time, it doesn't worry me one little bit, because people don't come to your site just because it looks a cool form. They come because they're trying to provide information for you. But there are a whole lot of built-in themes. So if I go to change theme up here, I can come down here and go, let's grab the birthday cats one. Oh, I couldn't think of anything worse. The farm life form. And there's been more added as years go along. But you can find the one that actually best suits what you're after. So obviously a wedding acceptance one, they've used some different types of fonts, or a science one. But you can always come in here once you've selected it and press the customize button. And there are a lot of different options over here. So header image, change image. So I might want to get come over here, let's do a Google banner image. No, it's going to be something specific there. So let's do a dog's image. Okay, so see how it's actually been set up in that design. I'm just going to view the image. I'm going to save the image on my desktop. Dog's cat banner. All right, coming back in here, I can change the image by all sorts of different options that they give you. So there's thousands and thousands of choices in here, which probably would have it there. But I can also just choose to, on the desktop, I think, dogs and cats banner. And there we go. So I started with the look that I wanted. There are a whole lot of options to change here. You can grab the fonts, you can change the questions, the options, the form background. So that's where that dark green color's been picked, but you might want to go, oh yeah, I definitely need the brightest yellow I can find. Oh, that's pretty ugly. Let's go back to that. Not going to cope with that. Or just white. Okay, so whatever suits the design that you actually have better. One of the coolest ones I actually use a lot of the time with this is in change theme. I'm going back to default themes. I can choose a theme from another form that I've already created. So if I click here, and this quite often I use this at InnoBar a bit, although I don't think I've got the InnoBar form in this one here, but let's say I really like Dora the Explorer, this one that's been created here. I can select that, and then everything in my form will be set with these sorts of setups. I'll have a certain image at the top. So I could have my school logo set up here. I could have the fonts and the styles that I actually want to use in it, and that can be a very handy way of getting that to work. Okay, so you've created a nice survey, you've put it all together, you've asked people a whole lot of questions. This is one of the coolest things that you can do with it. Back in here, there is a couple of options. There's a few ways you can get to this, in fact. If you come in here to this section here, you can also use it here. And there is an option to go show summary of responses. Now, at the moment, what we've got is probably not a great helper, but it does do all the graphs for you. It allows you to be able to see how it's set up, and it just does different types of graphs depending on the type of question. So remember, this one was a checkbox, so it was possible to have more responses than one on any of them, where this is only possible to have one, so the pie chart makes more sense for that particular one there. So being able to analyze the responses can be a really handy way of setting it up like that. Okay, let's play with one new thing, particularly for a number of people today. If you've learned about forms in the past, here's one that I've been playing with recently. It's called Autocrat. Now, Autocrat, when you think about using it on a form, you immediately come in here and go, oh, I want to go to the add-ins for the forms, and that's the wrong spot. Autocrat is actually a mail merge tool which can be used in this section here in the add-ons for a spreadsheet. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to click that, I'm going to type in Autocrat, and if I spelt it properly, it would help a lot. Okay, so there's Autocrat. I'm going to install that. It's going to ask to be able to do a whole lot of things, which is pretty cool. But obviously read them carefully, don't just agree to them straight away. All right, so we'll be doing a bit of work. So what happens here is that we now have Autocrat, and it's loading up, and we can create what's called a merge job. And I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but I can come up with some nice little ways of doing a very quick mail merge. So let me show you how it works on the basics. First thing you need is a template. So you can use a template that's already in your drive, or you can create one. Wouldn't let me do that. Okay, so the other day when I did this, I think it was easier if I came in here and just went new document. And I'm going to go Autocrat template 1. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to type in 2 less than signs, and then I'm going to put in here name, and then I'm going to put 2, and I'm going to type in weather, and I'm going to write yesterday your weather was, and full stop. And I'm just going to prove a point by making that actually a bigger style, heading 2, and I'm going to make it dark blue. Okay, so we've got that there. This is our template. Wherever the less than signs and greater than are, it's what we call a tag. Apologies for those who haven't never experienced this before. Hopefully this will help. So now that I've done that, I'm just going to close it and come back in here, and I'm going to select that one. Showing me actually all my shared ones. So I'm just going to type in Autocrat. Autocrat template 1, which is what I just used. I'm going to select that. Now 5 minutes left. We should be easily get this through in the time that we have left today. So name of the merge job, I'm going to call it Autocrat Demo. So now what it's already done is it's looked through my document that I created and found the places with the less than and the greater than signs, and it's tried to make a guess. It knows that in the name spot I want to put in the name, but in the weather I want the weather yesterday was answer. Save. Now, there's a number of things here which are cool. File naming conventions, Autocrat. Then basically, I would like to use the word in here. Call it name. I'm going to get it to create a PDF. And I could get it to be emailed if I wanted to. There are some advanced settings in here which are pretty cool, including one which allows you to set up so Autocrat automatically emails somebody with their responses if they fill in your form. Very handy. We're going to do that. Save that. So this is just building the job. It hasn't actually done anything yet. Okay, so now that it's done that, I can run the merge job. Comes up with 3 potential jobs. It takes a little while to run. Consider how long it would take you to do it manually. It's not too bad, but 3 jobs completed. We'll go OK. Now if I click over here, I will have a folder for Autocrat Demo. And inside here, I have 3 PDF files. One which says, Dave, yesterday your weather was sunny. And that can be a really handy way of taking data and getting it transformed into a way that helps you. For example, in theory, you could have a spreadsheet which has been marked from a whole lot of work, or people put responses, and they automatically get this PDF back as a receipt attached to an email document, and that can be a very helpful thing. I would like to encourage everyone who has been watching today's stuff to send me an email at some stage to enable me to be able to just contact with who's connecting with this. I really do appreciate those people logging in and listening today, and I appreciate that some people can't do it live, that at some stage you're going to want to be able to watch this back on YouTube. I encourage you to continue to record these dates, put them in your calendars so that you make sure that you are available. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'd be more than happy for you to send me a request for some help with any of the things we've talked about this afternoon. My email address is dc150573. Let me say that again, 150573. So dc150573 @gmail.com. And that can be hopefully an easy way that if you need to get in touch with me, have any questions from today's work, that we can share and support each other as we learn better ways of using Google Docs in the classroom. Thanks a lot.